Now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to please rise, move your hats in a salute to our flag, and welcome our very own Lauren Hart as she carries on the voice of the Flyers and sings, "God Bless America."
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above.
The following presentation will consist of a brief history of the Philadelphia Flyers. The Philadelphia Flyers originated in 1967 after the city earned a franchise expansion from the NHL on February 9th. Several decades before, about 35 years ago, lived the Philadelphia Quakers, who only had the chance to exist for one full season in 1930 and 31. The Philadelphia Quakers had the worst overall record in the history of the sport. Since they existed throughout the Great Depression and the stock market crash, the Quakers did not have the men or money to field the team the following year. Ending the embarrassment for the city of Philadelphia and diminishing the city's hockey team, the Philadelphia Quakers resigned. Now today, after the NHL expansion and our city's second chance, lives our Philadelphia Flyers. No traces of our historical upset was continued except for the black and orange taken from the Quakers jerseys, now worn by the Flyers. A man by the name of Ed Schneider brought hope back to the city by proposing the idea of bringing back the team after 35 years. His inspiration came from watching the crowd line up and fill the stands of a last-place team, the Boston Bruins. Bill Putnam, member of the Philadelphia group, worked with him and announced a contest for the future name of the Philadelphia NHL hockey team. The only requirements was that the orange and black colors remain the same. After ballots were given out at local supermarkets, hundreds were returned, and the decision process began. Names like Bashers, Blizzards, Bruisers, Huskies, Keystones, Knights, Lancers, Raiders, and Sabres were among the other names considered, but the name Flyers won the overall decision because it captured the speed of the game. Keith Allen, former NHL player for the Seattle Totems, was announced the first ever Flyers head coach. In order to get the team started, the city had to purchase an American Hockey League team, the Quebec Aces, which gave them NHL rights for 11 players. The Flyers' first captain, Luan Gotti, and other well-known players today, Bernie Parent, Doug Favell, Ed Van Impe, and Joe Watson, filled the first team. The Flyers played all home games on Broad Street in Philadelphia. First in the Spectrum for 29 years, from 1967 to 96, where they captured their first 2 Stanley Cups, then to the current Wells Fargo Center, where they still play today. 6 years into the Flyers' establishment, Jack Chevalier and Pete Tafone coined the nickname for the team, the Broad Street Bulls.
Dropped it over to Harama. In his own zone, out to the center, Mikhailov backs up again, and they get going to the power play now. Everybody's struggling.
The Flyers won their first Stanley Cup championship in the 74 season, then repeated the following year in 75. This made them the first non-original 6 team to win the Stanley Cup. In the last 35 seasons since their Stanley Cup wins, the Flyers have made the playoffs 28 times and reached the Stanley Cup Finals 6 times. Fast forward to today. The Flyers have been a strong competitor in the Eastern Conference. Since the 2000 season, the Flyers have had 7 captains, but still continue to put a winning team together. They are continuing to fight for their next Stanley Cup with a newer, younger, and more thuggish lineup.